Chance is a 2009 short film about Lieutenant Colonel Michael Strobl, United States Marine Corps, made for HBO. The film is based upon the recollection of Strobl's journey to carry the remains of Lance Corporal Chance Phelps home after his death outside of Ramadi, Iraq on April the 9th, 2004.
In Palms Marine Base, 75 Marines have made the ultimate sacrifice. One of those fallen Marines, a 20-year-old Lance Corporal, is remembered as a hero. Chance Phelps took enemy fire so others in his unit could get to safety.
But to know the sacrifice of this Marine, you need to know more than just his name. This is the story of his journey home. KMR6
Chance Phelps was wearing his St. Christopher medal when he was killed on Good Friday. 8 days later, I handed the medallion to his mother. I didn't know Chance before he died. Today, I miss him.
Lieutenant Colonel Mike Strobl has been a Marine for 23 years. He is stationed in Quantico, Virginia. He has had his fair share of difficult and dangerous missions, but nothing could have prepared him for the mission he volunteered for 2 years ago.
They asked for volunteers to be casualty escorts. I think like all the escorts did, it was such an important thing that we need to do for the families. I didn't really stop to think about what it would be like or what to expect.
His trip would last for 8 days. His mission? To bring the body of Lance Corporal Chance Phelps from Dover Air Force Base to his home in Du Bois, Wyoming. Iraqi fighters shot and killed Chance Phelps outside of Baghdad. Fellow Marines say the 19-year-old put himself in harm's way, saving the lives of dozens of Marines.
Except to tell the first class.
Mike Strobl wrote Taking Chance, a story about his journey with Lance Corporal Phelps. He started writing for his supervisor as a technical critique of his trip.
As the journey unfolded, I started to get a sense that this was something more than just a trip to Wyoming.
Mike's article became an inspiration to the men and women in the armed forces. Even
Today is to talk about Strobl, Phelps, and why it is this film resonates. Strobl was working a desk at Marine Corps Station Quantico and would keep up with the status of his fellow Marines and servicemen from his home state of Colorado. Strobl, a colonel and a Gulf War vet, desires to fight in Iraq, but is confined to his duty station when the news of Phelps' death is given. Through online, of course, he goes and looks it up, and he proceeds to volunteer to carry the boy's remains home to his family in Du Bois, Wyoming. Wyoming. You heard me say Colorado earlier, correct? Well, that is because Chance Phelps' family moved from Colorado shortly after he was recruited. They decided to move to Wyoming. Phelps, of course, was born there, but his family would end up in the state of Wyoming right around Du Bois. Strobl would document this in his short memoir, his 12-page essay that he wrote that would later on be featured in the San Francisco Chronicle, on his travels and the people that he would meet, the people that he would run into, and the display of affection they had for those who served.
The remains of fallen Marines from Dover Air Force Base in Delaware to wherever their final destination was for their funeral services. Like so many Marines that I worked with, I had volunteered to be an escort, and I saw that a PFC Chance Phelps from Clifton, Colorado had been killed in Anbar province in Iraq. I felt that our common bond to Colorado was sort of a sign for me that this was the Marine that I was supposed to bring home. So I had no intention of capturing the experience in a journal. But as the trip progressed, I kept observing these both small and large acts of kindness and gratitude. I took out my little spiral notebook and I started writing. And once I started, it was like I couldn't stop. It was almost as if the story were being dictated to me. HBO heard of the story, and they contacted me, and with the blessing of Chance's family, we began working on the screenplay in the winter of 05-06, and they began shooting the movie in the summer of 07. Taking Chance became the most watched original movie ever on HBO. I don't point this out to brag. What I want to do is have us all stop and think about why this movie resonated so strongly with people across the country. It reminds us that while so much has changed since 9/11, the really important things haven't changed. Our character as a nation has not.
Deployments in war can be hard, especially on families. And obviously Chance Phelps' family was going through a lot at this time, but Colonel Strobl would run into one said individual along his way, along his travels. And I'm just going to play this little piece right here for you so that way you guys can kind of see what I mean.
Sergeant, I'm headed to Rochester. It's about 90 miles from here. my family is meeting us there.
Are you related to the deceased son?
Yes, sir. He's my brother.
This soldier lost his brother. Not a brother in arms, not a brother that he served with, his actual, honest-to-God brother. He has got to carry his brother home to his family in Rochester, Minnesota. Now, guys, let that sink in. Death is never easy, and it's never easy to overcome, and obviously Chance Phelps' family is going through a lot as they have heard of their son's passing. How do you think this family right here feels when they see one of their sons bring another one of their sons home to actually bury? Let that sink in, because this video is also about honoring the dead. Chance Phelps' final movements on this earth was providing cover fire for his fellow Devil Dogs. You see, Chance's unit was ambushed. They were under attack, and Chance stayed in the machine gun turret, provided cover fire for his men so that way they could get away. He didn't want to leave the fight, and as a result, he would end up losing his life. He would die valiantly. He would die a hero, which is exactly what he was. But Chance's body, of course, was left almost beyond recognition, or at least his face was, hence the fact that the funeral was a closed casket affair. But many people feel that a person's final movements is not exactly their final movements on earth, what they do in physical form, but the actual final movements all the way to the grave itself. And Lieutenant Colonel Strobl would witness these movements all the way to the very end. Now, guys, really quick, speaking of witnessing, do you remember when I brought up the fact that Strobl was a Gulf War vet? Yeah, you see, at the very beginning of the movie, there's this nice little scene which I couldn't get due to HBO's copyright standards or copyright guidelines, where Strobl is in a locker and he suggests to another fellow Marine that maybe he should go. Of course, the other Devil Dog tells him no. You see, Strobl has been struggling with the fact that he hasn't seen any combat since the Gulf War.
I should have been over there, Charlie.
It wasn't your time,
It was exactly my time. I knew the clock was ticking. I knew my time was coming up. But I just kept ignoring it, you know. Except in the middle of the night, I would check those casualty lists, just praying that I didn't recognize any of the names. I don't know, you know, I just got used to seeing my wife and kids every day, and so I put in a request for another office tour. And it was granted.
Well, they must have needed you here.
No. My friends went. Guys I was in Desert Storm with went. I stayed home. I was trained to fight. If I'm not over there, what am I? Those guys. Guys like Chance. They're Marines.
And do you think you're not? Want to be with your family every night? You think you have to justify that? You better stop right there, sir. You brought Chance home. You're his witness now. Without a witness, they just disappear.
Ladies and gentlemen, this right here is where I'm going to end this film review. Now, let me say two last things. You see, Lieutenant Colonel Strobl has been struggling with the fact that he never got to do any actual deployments. He's been struggling with the fact that he didn't get to see any combat, and it makes him feel like he's less of a Marine. Dude, you earned an Eagle, Globe, and Anchor. Trust me, you are a United States Marine Corps officer. It just so happens to be that you didn't see any combat deployments. I mean, that's just the way it goes sometimes. Just because you didn't do as many deployments as another Marine does not make you any less of a Marine. It's just the way that it is. Some guys obviously are in situations where they can't actually deploy. So I don't view Colonel Strobl as less of a Marine. If anything, I view him as more of a Marine because he still stuck to doing his actual duty and he volunteered for assignment that many other people would not have done. Now, guys, let me end the video on this note right here. This film right here resonated for multiple reasons, mainly due to the fact that it was able to relate to its audience It was also able to relate to other Marines and other veterans, and at the same time, if you haven't caught it through the visuals of this, it also honors the dead and it honors our fallen properly. With that rather being said, guys, if you like this video, make sure you guys hit that like button. Make sure you guys subscribe if you're new here. Click on the notifications bell. Leave a comment in the comment section. Critique the video. Let me know how I did. And thank you guys for watching.